Many thanks for that fireside chat. And now let's move on to the next one. Uniting for a Sustainable Future, Translating Climate Commitments into Global Impact. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for all of us to welcome Her Excellency, Dr. Amna bint Abdullah Dahak, UAE Minister of Climate Change and Environment, moderated by Lena Hasabullah, editor from CNN Business Arabic. Give them a welcome.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome, and thank you all for being here for this very important event that happens every year, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorites, the Dubai FinTech Summit. Of course, it's my pleasure and honor to be joined by Dr. Amna. And you know, when speaking about transitioning or translating climate commitments into actual global impact, it seems essential to me that we need to start this conversation by speaking about COP28, which happened in the UAE in 2023, and the historic UAE consensus, which placed forward a very ambitious roadmap for the world to keep at 1.5 degrees Celsius. It also seems very essential to me that we need to start this conversation by speaking about the historic in its own right Loss and Damage Fund, which was announced in the COP28 in 2023 and garnered over $700 million from participating countries. Now, this fund, I believe, is one of the only times in the world that words were translated into actions. It was one of the only times where real steps were taken to create real global impact. And almost 2 years later, I'm happy to be joined by Dr. Amna so we can speak about the real results and global impact that this has had and what we can look forward to in the future. Now, Dr. Amna, the Loss and Damage Fund obviously was created to help the most vulnerable from the negative impacts of climate change. At what stage is the fund now, and when can we expect to see its execution and impact on the ground?
Thank you, Lena. And let me start by thanking the IFC for the invitation and for organizing such an amazing event. Now, if we look back at COP28 in 2023, I would like to start by reminding everyone that the operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund happened at the very first day of COP28, where we've witnessed the pledge from the UAE of $100 million to support this fund. And from there, we have seen the ball rolling and the momentum being gained. Up until today, as of March 2025, we have so far $766 million pledged into the Loss and Damage Fund from 25 countries. Now, the UAE, as it has always been a supporter for countries to achieve their climate action and climate agenda, especially those that are most vulnerable, that has the most vulnerable communities, and that are sitting at the very front lines of the climate crisis and are affecting the most, being affected the most out of it. That's why it was essential to make sure that this fund is moving forward, because as the UAE, we're always about impactful action. And we have seen the need for this. And the operationalization of this fund shows the global commitment toward achieving or supporting those countries and their climate agenda. Now, since then, we have seen the progress in this fund. As per the third board meeting in September 24, which took place in Baku. In this meeting, the executive director has been appointed. The host of the secretariat have been signed with the World Bank, and the host country agreement with the Republic of Philippines have been signed. So we can see now that all the groundwork has been laid for this fund to operationalize and become into action. Now, what we need to make sure through all international conversations and through multilateral platforms that are focused on climate action, that this fund, as it was announced in COP29 in Baku, it is currently fully operationalized, that those countries who have committed and pledged to supporting this fund continue to translate those pledges into actions to make sure that resources are available and accessible for those countries and the most vulnerable communities at the moment.
Wow, great insights into like how quickly it's moving forward. And very impressive, I must say. Now, I want to move on to another fund that was established, and the UAE had established it also during the 2023 COP, which is the Altera Fund. So the Altera Fund is the world's largest climate investment fund, aiming to mobilize investment at scale to finance new climate economy that delivers shared prosperity for all. What is the global impact that the UAE is aiming to make through the Altera Fund?
First, we want to change the people's perception about investment, that investment and the return on investment and return on environment and with respect to climate action, climate agenda, they can go in hand. Two words we have been saying and we have been hearing from Dr. Sultan as the co-presidency during the time of the UAE presidency, that we have to be practical and pragmatic. So we have to make sure that we always ensure that we're translating action in a way that is providing more innovative solutions, but also making the investment where it matters. Mm-hmm. The Altera Fund started or announced in COP28 with a 30 billion US dollars, and it is designed from the very beginning to mobilize up to 250 billion US dollars by 2030.
Huge investment.
A huge investment, and with a completely different paradigm than what it was intended, what is understood, or what is looked at as investment funds. So now with this intention, this was designed to support climate economy, or economies that are moving and growing fast, with potentials of providing or supporting companies that are designed or that are offering innovative solutions to drive climate agenda in those countries, the most vulnerable countries in the global south, in a way that will make achieving their climate agenda on a scale affordable and accessible for them and for other countries in the same landscape or that are facing the same challenges. And we're happy to say that less than 2 weeks ago, the first investment had been announced with investing $100 million in an Indian company called Evrin, company that is focused on providing renewable energy solutions in the country and also other countries, which translates the vision of Altera to make climate action affordable, accessible, and at scale to the most vulnerable communities.
It's such an interesting strategy. And for me, it feels like it's simplified as a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
You invest, you create a new climate investment economy. There's money coming in, there's money coming out, but everyone benefits at the end of the day.
And the most important thing, Lena, is that it is really a return. It's designed with the right return on investment model, but at the same time, the right return on environment as well.
Speaking about climate and COP28 and all the COPs, we have COP30 fast approaching. It's going to be happening in Brazil. Absolutely. And as we fast approach COP30, I had a very important question. In your view, what must happen so we can change summit declarations into global delivery and real actual results?
So one of the mechanisms, Lena, that the UNFCCC have set in place, the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions, which are basically the national investment plans that the countries are announcing to show the world or to be accountable as well and to be transparent about their plans in achieving their net zero. Yeah. And this comes at different milestones. It is submitted every 5 years. So we're looking at the next set of NDCs being submitted before COP30. The UAE was the first country to submit its NDC to the UNFCCC prior to COP29, as was promised. And we've seen that the deadline was February 25, actually, for most countries, but then it was postponed by the Secretariat to allow more countries to be ready to submit their NDCs, which is expected to be submitted by September 25. And with those NDCs, you are achieving two things. You are evaluating the world trajectory toward achieving the net zero, and you are holding all the countries accountable for their commitments.
Yep.
And you're asking everyone to be transparent about their plans and to be also transparent about the challenges that they are facing. Because with that, you can as well mobilize other global commitments and efforts to ensure that global collaborations and partnerships are moving toward that direction. Now, aside from the NDC, we need to look at other aspects like the financial investments. More financial investments need to be going into the climate landscape. We need to make sure that those countries who are being affected, they are being very well supported to achieve their mitigation and adaptation plans. And then we look at technology transfer, capacity building, and ensuring that more partnerships are forged through those multilateral platforms. And we have to also make sure that those multilateral platforms continue to deliver what they were designed for. And I think everyone has to put their efforts to make sure that COP30 is continuing to do that. The UAE during COP28 have announced a lot of declarations, among which was the Sustainable Food Systems Declaration, for example, the Nature and People Declaration, a lot of elements that were addressed on a side, not in with the view of climate change, but the UAE have brought them at the very forefront to make sure that they are addressed as part of the primary agenda items. And with those declarations, the declaration means that every country that signed up to that declaration will come during their reporting their NDCs to report what they are doing in that space to make sure that they achieve their intended contribution to the net zero worldwide.
It felt during COP28, I was one of the lucky people who was able to attend. It was such a different COP because it was based on results. And seeing Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber standing in front of the press, in front of all the delegates, all the presidents, and being very transparent about where we need to go and how we need to go is a mindset that's very motivating, and I can see it from you now, and that's why it felt very different.
Let me mention something here, Lana, just a piece of information. It's that at that time, I wasn't the Minister of Climate Change and Environment in the UAE.
Yes.
I was appointed in January 2024, and it made me really proud with all the responsibilities that I'm taking forward, is the responsibility of ensuring that the UAE legacy is translated on the ground nationally and internationally. It is a big responsibility, though.
And when I was there, it felt like it. And the ambition is high, and what we need to do is very high. And even with everything that was achieved, he was still standing there and saying it's still not enough and pushing forward. So that was very motivating to see.
I don't think we can ever say it's enough, right? We should always push ourselves to do more.
That's the winner mindset that I'm talking about. Now, let's get back to the climate change challenge and negative impacts. Just so everyone in the audience can have an idea, 2025 was the warmest year on record in history. And so this is a very big challenge and, facing humanity, facing all of us. So my question to you is, today, immediately, what kind of climate commitments and climate results on the ground need to happen so we can face this imminent challenge that we are seeing today?
So I'll go back again to the UAE consensus, the historic UAE consensus. It had two major outcomes that can translate that into action. We focused on the efficiency, doubling efficiency of energy, and tripling renewable energy by 2030. Because your first line of action when you want to reduce emissions is to improve your energy efficiency. And that's the first line of action. If we look at policies that are currently in place, some policies need to be reformed, re-looked at, and redesigned with a focus on energy efficiency, because that's where the leakage happens, and that's where a lot of the emissions that we don't actually get anything out of it, we're accountable for it, because we're not designing energy efficient systems. And the UAE has been as well at the very forefront and leading in that space. Another aspect is the tripling renewable energy.
Yeah.
The UAE has become a regional leader in this space. Very early on, have invested and have established specialized companies, and we've seen announcement from Masdar back in the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week earlier this year that have really demonstrated leadership.
Yes.
We've increased from 22 to 2023 by 70% in renewable capacity. And the UAE have been also the first in the region to create a clean energy nuclear plant, Baraka plant, energy plant, and which accounts for or contributes with 25% of the UAE energy mix. And that shows you how the UAE is going at the very forefront and is moving really fast in the space of renewable energy. And we have to make sure that everyone is moving as fast as we are, and also we are providing support to other countries to move forward. And this is what we have been seeing from the UAE investment in renewable energies worldwide. The UAE have invested so far 50 billion in renewable energies, and looking at investing in another 50 billion in the next 10 years in renewable energy space worldwide. Going from the energy efficiency and the renewable energy, we need to talk as well, again, we're in a fintech summit.
Yes.
We need to talk about financing.
Yes.
So again, committing to climate financing and designing more innovative models of climate financing. That's what we need to be focused on. Altera is one model of that.
Yeah.
We need to bring more models into the world, and we need to bring more appetite for investors to go into to invest in climate finance. And we need to do that by also de-risking climate financing for investors, so it becomes more attractive for capital to come in. Aside from that, we can never talk enough about partnership and collaborations. It is essential to move climate dialogue forward.
Yeah, this was about to be my next question, but as you said, the UAE is a leader in green transition and is working towards its ambitious goals that you just set out now. A lot of ambitious goals and initiatives that have happened, but what I want to ask is, what are some of the lessons learned from from your journey into achieving all of these goals that the rest of the world can sort of benefit from or learn from, so as you said, they can all move in the same pace that the UAE is moving?
So when we designed our net zero strategy 2050, Lina, we took a whole of society, whole of economy approach. We designed a very comprehensive plan that is focused on the 6 main sectors that is focused, or that are the ones that are contributing to emissions, so that we achieve our net zero.
Yeah.
But we did not look at that with isolations from nature-based solutions. We've also invested in nature to make sure that we rehabilitate and we restore the natural systems that can work with us hand in hand into achieving our net zero. Now, the UAE have also looked at a very strong partnership with the private sector. There is no way any government is going to be able to achieve their net zero without having a very close partnership model and framework with the partner sector. We've initiated the National Dialogue for Climate Ambition in the UAE. We've had so far 14 dialogues with the private sector, and we have seen great response from the companies to design their own net zero roadmaps toward 2050. And with that, we need to make sure that we take in mind that we are being, again, practical. We are taking the societal prosperity, economic prosperity, along with net zero. They are all going hand in hand. And that's why we say it's a whole of economy, a whole of society approach, so that we ensure that there is a just and equitable transition moving forward. We need to as well think about how is that looked at, again, from the looking at nature-based solutions. And the UAE have initiated some of those collaborations and alliances with other countries, other like-minded countries who believe in the same objectives and who believe that nature can work hand in hand with us. We've initiated the Mangrove Alliance for Climate, which was announced back in COP27 with Indonesia. And since then, the alliance have grown to 45 countries around the world, accounting for 60% of the mangrove ecosystems around the world. Wow. Now, in Baku, we've had the second ministerial meeting where we've announced and endorsed with all member countries the MAC Strategy 2030. And that strategy is focused on also mobilizing finances to the efforts of restoring and rehabilitations of mangrove ecosystems. And we've seen back in Baku as well the outcomes on Article 6 that will enable those countries that can contribute effectively in carbon sequestration, those that are really the carbon sinks of the world, how they how those nature-based solutions they can attract financing through the mobilization and the activation of Article 6 to those countries, and that can contribute to achieving their own net zero as well, being those with the natural ecosystems that they have for carbon capture, direct carbon capture. Now, aside from that as well, we focus on research and development with our partners. There's so much potential that can be brought forward if we know exactly how to work with the environment. And that's why the UAE have as well announced with Indonesia the Mohammed bin Zayed Joko Widodo Research Center for Mangrove that is currently under progress and under construction. And we look at mobilizing as well the research capacities from the 45 countries that have joined this alliance to participate in research efforts in this research center, which can drive a faster or accelerate the pace of achieving our net zeros by working very closely with our environment.
Dr. Amna, unfortunately our time is up, but these are very concise, very clear, and very interesting insights that you just gave us. I want to thank you very much. I think the whole audience has benefited as well. And these conversations really make us feel that we do have a chance, I think, for the future.
Lina.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Dr. Amna,
Thank
everyone.
You. Thank you.